So the noble fight against the invisible enemy has inflicted a steep toll on the American workforce. As we all know, millions of Americans sacrificed their jobs in order to battle the virus and save the lives of our fellow citizens. We have a solemn duty to ensure these unemployed Americans regain their jobs and their livelihoods. Therefore, in order to protect American workers, I will be issuing a temporary suspension of immigration into the United States. You heard about that last night. By pausing immigration, we'll help put unemployed Americans first in line for jobs as America reopens. So important. It would be wrong and unjust for Americans laid off by the virus to be replaced with new immigrant labor flown in from abroad. We must first take care of the American worker, take care of the American worker. This pause will be in effect for 60 days, after which the need for any extension or modification will be evaluated by myself and a group of people based on economic conditions at the time. This order will only apply to individuals seeking a permanent residency. In other words, those receiving green cards, big factor, will not apply to those entering on a temporary basis. As we move forward, we'll examine what additional immigration-related measures should be put in place to protect U.S. workers. We want to protect our U.S. workers, and I think as we move forward, we will become more and more protective of them. This pause on new immigration will also help to conserve vital medical resources for American citizens. A short break from new immigration, depending on the time we're talking about, will protect the solvency of our healthcare system and provide relief to jobless Americans.
Subject, you were signing of the executive order. When do you plan to do that?
The executive order will be, it's being written now as we speak, probably tomorrow sometime.
So will it have exemptions in there for
We'll have certain exemptions because you're going to need certain exemptions, but we'll be notifying you tomorrow. We'll sign it most likely tomorrow, being drawn now and tonight. And it's something we have to have in this country. We have to have it.
So for the people who say it doesn't track with opening up the country to shut down immigration across the board for companies that, and the pipeline that's already in place, what do you say to them?
Well, I think it really does. I think it's very strong, obviously, and it's countrywide as opposed to specifically like China or some of the other ones that I've shut down. We're going to see, and you'll see a very accurate definition tomorrow after it's completed by the attorneys.
Just back on the executive order for a second. You mentioned there are going to be some exemptions. We're reporting right now that it only applies to employment, green cards for employment, but not for those for immediate family.
But we're going to be reporting on that later on. It might be tonight or tomorrow. We'll give you an exact report.
You can say to people who may be worried about the ability to bring immediate family members into this.
No, I think it's been covered pretty accurately in this case. I think most people know what it is, and some people will be able to get in. We have to do that, obviously, even from a humane standpoint. But there'll be some people coming in. But it's a strong order. It's a strong order. It involves a big circle, as you know. Please.
Are immigrants who are already in the country, are they at greater risk of deportation based on this order?
I don't think so. They're not supposed to be here. You're saying they're here illegally? Is that what you're saying?
Well, for example, if an immigrant is here for a court order, right, are they at risk of deportation?
Well, if a
based
court
on
order,
this?
then you have to go to court. So then the judge would make a determination as to whether or not they're going to be staying. But if they have a court order, they won't have to leave until they go through that process. So we'll see what happens. But with the court, and there are some with court orders, that means they have a trial coming up. Please.
So obviously on the immigration executive order, you've raised concern for a long time, even in good economic times, about immigrants taking Americans' jobs. So under what conditions would you consider lifting this halt on immigration?
Well, we're doing, yeah.
Or is this sort of an opportunity to address what you've seen as a problem for a long time?
Well, I think, look, right now, obviously, there's never been, we had the greatest economy in the world, and then one day we had to shut it down. They said, you have to shut it down. We did the right thing, because I think we would have had 1 million or maybe even 2 million, or maybe more than that, deaths. So we did the right thing. But certainly this would pertain. I mean, when you look at it right now, the last thing we want to do is take American workers' jobs. It's one thing when we were essentially, they used to call it full employment, And it's another thing right now. Right now, we have people that have lost their jobs, and we hope they're going to come back and come back fast, and then we can have an even deeper discussion. But right now, we have to have jobs for Americans.
Would you have any sense of, like, if unemployment gets to 4% or 5%? You know,
Well,
people who are
we'll have
looking.
to see. I mean, I hope we're in that position to have that debate. Right now, we're not in that position. Right now, we closed down the largest economy, the greatest economy in the history of the world. It's the most successful economy. When you look at the stock market, we're breaking records virtually every week, sometimes every day. And stock market's still not doing badly considering what this country has been through, which really tells you how strong it was in the first place. But no, I hope we're going to be able to have that discussion. I hope we're in a position. That's like a good discussion to have. But that'll be a little bit later. Brett?
Your executive order is to last for 60 days. How will you decide whether to extend it? Does it
Well, I'll look at the
depend on-
economy. I'll see where we are with the economy, basically. And I think I'll have a very easy decision to make. I hope that the economy is going to be great by that time, but we'll see. But right now, in light of the fact that Americans are out of jobs, I can't be taken in.
Roll it for another 60 days or?
Well, I could roll it for 30 days, or I could roll it for much more than 60 days. We'll have to take a look at the time, but we'll be looking at 60 days, and we'll see what it is. Yeah, in the back.
Mr.
And there is
President,
reporting that you-
Under immigration order.
That's all right. You go. Why don't you go, and then you.
Okay, on the immigration order, we'll continue with that. There is reporting that you may actually sign a second order to even limit more of those exemptions that you were just talking about. Can you confirm that
It
you
could
are
happen
considering?
if I want, but I won't be doing it tomorrow. I'll be signing the primary order, and then we have a secondary order that if I want to do that, we'll make that determination. We
Is
can
that-
do that. Yeah, we can do that at a little bit different time if we want.
But that is under consideration at this
Yeah,
time, a
sure,
second
sure.
order?
Secondary orders.
You also campaigned on reducing legal immigration, and I'm wondering if some critics are saying that you are using the virus now in this crisis to follow through on that promise to reduce
No, I'm
legal
not doing that.
immigration.
No. Well, I want people that are in this country, I want our citizens to get jobs. I don't want them to have competition. We have a very unusual situation where something came in that nobody has seen for many, many decades. Probably 1917 would be the closest analogy if you look at it, when you look at the contagion, the kind of contagion we're talking about. So, no, I'm not doing that at all. I want the American worker and our American citizens to be able to get jobs. I don't want them to compete right now. There's a big difference when we have a full economy, and frankly, where some of the companies, we have many companies moving in, where they need workers. That's a big difference between that and where all of a sudden a lot of people lose jobs.
As you know, a lot of farmers rely on seasonal migrant workers that
That's
come in
not
on
going
the
to be affected. The farmers will not be, that's an important point. The farmers will not be
seasonal
affected.
workers?
Yeah, that's a very important point. I mean, it's a great point, actually. I'm glad you brought it up. No, the farmers will not be affected.
Your
You know,
EO
they've
will
had
have a
cases
carve-out for
where they
those-
stopped everybody from coming in, and all the farmers went out of business. They were literally out of business. You remember that, Brett? It was not so long ago, but it's easy. You know, it's easier to stop everything cold than it is to plan it so that the farmers have the people that have been working on those farms for many years, and that's what we're doing. No, the farmers will not be affected by this at all. If anything, we're going to make it easier, and we're doing a process that'll make it better for those workers to come in, to go to the farm where they've been for a long time.
President, thank you. On the topic of public support for your immigration treaties.
Right.
An Ipsos USA Today poll just came out and found 80% of Americans are supportive of the immigration halt, the temporary freeze.
I know that.
Did that have any, did public support have any effect on your decision making here? And are you surprised by those numbers?
Yeah, it's a high number. I did not see that number. I heard there was a poll. I'm sure there'll be a lot of polls. No, look, I think the American people want to make sure that they have jobs for the American people, not for people that come in many cases illegally into our country. So we're doing that. I don't know what the numbers are, but I think just common sense tells you that's where we should be, and that's where the American people want to be. And we're going to build our country back. And I'm telling you, with all of the things that we're doing and infrastructure, which we desperately need, it's going to be an incredible thing taking place. I think it's going to be a renaissance. We're going to have something that will be, a lot of people are going to go to work building those roads and bridges and tunnels and highways and all of the other things we're going to be building. And broadband for the Middle West. I mean, the farmers haven't been treated fairly. let's face it, the farmers have been treated terribly when it comes to the internet, so we're going to take care of that. We're going to make them very happy.